Greetings, friends. I'm outdoors in Prodder Park again. I'm showing a little bit of heavage today because it's hot. I hope you'll forgive me. I may button it up if I'm feeling modest at some point. Apparently I'm feeling modest now. Listen, how do you do nothing? Zen practice is a little bit paradoxical, and oftentimes the teachings can be a little bit paradoxical, right? We read Dogen, and he says that when we practice Zen, we should think the thought of no thinking, right? Many different traditional classical Zen masters tell us we have to manifest no mind, right? We're often told we have to do nothing on the cushion. We have to bring zero ideas and zero thinking to the practice. I actually have a friend of mine named Curtis White. He's a great writer, a great thinker, and a great critic. Check out his books, Curtis White. He sits with a group that I believe is a Theravadan group or a Vipassana group. I think they might be in the insight meditation tradition, the Goldstein, Salzburg, Cornfield crew. I think, I'm not totally sure, but somehow that group has been taken over by the Zens, apparently. And the Zens keep telling him, and I quote, "There should be no thinking, no concepts, just meditation." And then my friend Curtis says, I try to suggest, humbly, that the idea that there should be no ideas is itself an idea. So, oh boy, we know that there's some kind of truth in these statements about no thinking, no ideas, no concepts. But here's the question that I have. How do you do nothing? If a Zen YouTuber speaks the truth in the woods and no one is around to hear it, did the truth manifest? Drum roll, please. Anytime you sit down and try and empty your mind or drop your mind or zero out your mental state, you are kind of chasing your own tail, washing blood off your hands with blood, etc. You can't do nothing. What I was taught was you have to do something completely, and then nothing manifests. It arises when you do something completely. So forget about doing nothing. You have to do something completely. And then you are nothing. You're not there. You've disappeared completely into the activity. The thinking mind has been zeroed out, and you have essentially done nothing. But you've done it paradoxically by actually doing something, but doing it so wholeheartedly, so completely, with 100% of your being. Sorry, there's a woman with a horse. I kind of want to, but she might think it's creepy. There's a woman walking through the forest with a horse, and she's staring at me like I'm the one who's weird. Lady, you got a horse in the year 2024. Okay, anyways, I think she's flirting with me. Am I hallucinating? I am in a forest, and it is very, very hot, and I am dehydrated, but I don't think that's a wood nymph. Okay, listen. What was I saying? Zazen essentially means Zen meditation. It's Zen is Zen. Za is sitting. So zazen is simply sitting Zen. So oftentimes people will think that at a monastery the monks are sitting on cushions meditating all the time. Actually, there's a full, rich schedule at a monastery with a bunch of interlocking pieces, i.e. ordained officers who are manifesting in different officer roles and manifesting Zen in those roles. So sitting Zen or sitting meditation is just the simplest form of formal Zen practice. There's nothing special about it. It's a good place to learn how to do Zen, but it's not the only place by any stretch of the imagination. So let's look at the word Zen now. I'm going to get linguistic on you. It is the only time I will ever do so because I'm not a linguist. Zen, it is my understanding, is a Japanese mispronunciation of the Chinese word Chan. It is my understanding that the Chinese word Chan is a mispronunciation of Dhyana, which I think is a mispronunciation of jhana, or the other way around. But this original word, Dhyana, means focus or single-pointed concentration. So it's worth pausing on that and unpacking that. My title of this channel is Zen Confidential. We hear this word Zen all the freaking time. I'm going to tell you what it means now. It doesn't mean rock gardens with a tiny little rake that you can, that you have on your desk because you're going mad in your job at Google, where they keep you working for 15 hours a day, and they gave you a mindfulness class for free so that they could continue to wring hours of work out of you, and then that sent you to a nice little boutique shop where you bought a little desk rock garden, and now you sit there. That's not Zen. Okay, Zen means bringing the concentration to one point. Okay, it doesn't mean dropping the mind. It doesn't mean thinking, no thinking. It doesn't mean any of these things, right? The initial term refers to an activity of focus, of attention, of paying attention, right? So when you sit on a cushion and do sitting Zen, you're doing the simplest thing possible with as much attention and focus and sincerity as possible in the Rinzai tradition. This is what I was taught. So the Rinzai tradition tends to bring a certain kind of energy, a certain kind of samurai spirit to sitting, right? So you take your posture, and breath comes in, and breath comes out. You're doing something. This is really important. I mean, when I first went to the monastery, one person after another outside of the monastery would say, "What do you think about when you're on the cushion all day?" Well, the point is not to think. Now the horse is coming back through the forest, but there's no woman with it. That's kind of weird. God, I really get distracted when I can say anything on the internet, but if one person walks by IRL and sees me speaking, I get incredibly shy. I'll wait till she passes. Okay, full disclosure, I was not being hit on by horse lady who was following the horse. What was happening was I'm out here shouting in the forest like a hominid lunatic, and the horse gets confused and turns its enormous anvil-sized head my way. What a beautiful creature, and just sits there staring at me. And the woman who's leading this horse through the forest lets the horse stop and look at me, and it looks like she's flirting with me because she stopped and she's staring and she's smiling, but actually she's just being polite to her horse. I thought she was flirting with me because she's cute, and that's how the male mind works, which is to say poorly. Listen, where was I? Okay, so you're sitting on a cushion, manifesting posture and breath. You're doing the simplest thing possible with as much sincerity and focus as possible. You're bringing all of your energy, all of your attention, all that stupid shit running through your head about the horse girl who's flirting with you, about the heat. Is my bubbly water back at my bicycle with my little basket on it going flat? Am I making a fool of myself? Am I going to be losing light? Am I going to die tomorrow from cancer? Am I going to publish my novel and become a bestseller? Am I going to this? Am I going to that? There's 10 billion thoughts running through the human head, and they're all on different layers or strata. There's a whole colony or a hive of lunatic ants with their chemical sensors scrambled. There's a whole 10,000 peace mound of swarming ants that got sprayed with some mind-screwing chemical, or some chemical that screws up their chemical set, and they're going crazy. That's the human brain, right? It's got a lot of energy and a lot of moving parts, and we don't always notice this. We just kind of take this for granted. And when you sit on a cushion, the practice is my teacher used to do his bows like this. And he would bring his arms out and he would bring them together. And then he would bring them back in gasho to his chest. And in a sense, that's what we're doing when we sit. We're gathering all of our attention down to one point, single pointed concentration. And when you do that, when you give yourself fully and completely to an activity, what happens? You lose yourself. You forget yourself. Oneness is manifested with the activity. My teacher used to call this making relationship, or he called it true love. He would teach this to me in our zazen practice. As I've said 1,000 times on this channel, I apologize for repeating myself, but on the other hand, I don't, because I forget these things, and I lived it. So I imagine if you're watching this video, you're going to forget this, or you've forgotten that I've talked about this before. But it's really important. Like, Zen is really simple. My teacher used to say, Zen has few moving parts. It's really, really simple. Guys, people, I wish I would have known this. I wish I wasn't so stupid that I made everything highly interesting and complicated and complex and intellectual and spiritual. I wish I had realized when I was at the monastery what the game was. It was not sophisticated. I mean, it's as sophisticated as you want to make it, but don't want to make it sophisticated because it's simple. The practice is simple. Life is complicated. The human mind is complicated. Suffering can get incredibly complicated. But relief from the suffering that is caused by the human mind, and all suffering is of the human mind, is simple, right? My teacher would reach out and he would shake my hand. And he would say, you must shake my hand. You must 100%, he would say. Not 95, not 80, not 99, 100. Complete giving. Complete giving. You must die with Roshi, he would say. So the idea was, if you will, that probably as I was shaking his hand, I was thinking about how I need to answer my koan. I was worried, I was scared. I had all this pulsation and all this mentation going on. But occasionally, somehow, I don't know how, everything would fall into place and that thinking mind would disappear because I would so completely shake his hand, right? I would so completely do the activity in front of me. Right? And the reason my teacher calls it true love or making relationship is because whenever we're doing an activity, we're always in relationship with some particular thing in that moment. We're in a moment of time. Right now, I'm in a moment of time with you, sort of. Technically, I'm in a moment of time with this camera I'm looking at. And if I give myself completely to the words and I don't sit here, some part of me worrying about what I'm saying, always there's some part of me worrying, but if I give myself completely, just let it come out, which is something I try to do in my videos, then I've given myself 100% to you. I forget myself and nothing is manifest, or zero is manifest, as my teacher used to call it. And there's a gap, shunyata, nothingness, no thinking, no ideas, no consciousness, nothing. That's the nothingness that's spoken of in Zen. But it's an activity that gets manifested. So we oftentimes talk in the Rinzai tradition about manifesting. You have to manifest an answer to a koan. Manifesting is doing completely with your whole body, your whole mind, your whole body, your whole heart, your whole soul, with your inside and your outside, with the whole thing. This is called taitoku in Zen Buddhism, to apprehend with the body, to completely manifest with the whole body. So, at a monastery, as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of different people with a lot of different roles. If you're the densu, for example, you are giving yourself completely to the sutra hall where we chant in the morning. So you're making relationship with the makugyo drum and with the wax on the Butsudan altar. And you're seeing it. You're really seeing it, and you're seeing the grains of the wood, and you're not going crazy thinking about it, because folks, you will go crazy if this is thought. No, you're doing it through the sensorium, through the gates through which the world comes in. Touch. You're doing it with your body, and this is really, really, really important. And I want to close on the body, right? Maybe because I saw that beautiful horse coming through the forest. I think it was 10 times bigger than any other horse I've ever seen in my life. Its head was the size of a Yugo car, and it was just moving through the elegant, royal motions through the forest. I think I'm more in love with the horse than I am with the horse girl. In any event, we live in an era where our attention is constantly pulled into our phone. It's pulled into traffic. It's pulled into the guy in the office who won't shut up. It's pulled into office politics. It's pulled into conversations with our spouse. It's pulled into telephone conversations with our parents. We are in a very mental age, and it can be hard to practice Zen in such an age because we always think we have to do something with our brain. We have to do something with our mind. We have to do something with our head. We have to do something with our tongue. We have to do something with our jaw. We have to do something with our face. Present the face to the faces out there, right? And one of the most important lessons I ever got in Zen was to lead with the body. If I may, I'll give you an example. I was, as you may know, I seem to always be saying this. I'm finishing up another draft, a final super duper endgame draft of my novel, which has taken a very long period of time, and I've put a lot of effort and focus into. And oftentimes I will come into these woods in Prater Park, and I will just wander and think. And the other day I was doing a little bit too much thinking as I was wandering about my book, thinking about this, thinking about that. And I could tell it was causing suffering. My mind was just exhausted. It needed to rest. And I knew what to do. And you know what to do too, because you're Zen practitioners, and it's very easy, right? I did walking meditation. I put all my focus, effort, energy, and attention into the movement of my body. And you know what? It doesn't take much to zero out, to eliminate that thinking mind. You just have to put it into something other than itself. Chasing thoughts, chewing thoughts like that horse chews cud, chewing, thinking, letting the mind run wild. Make relationship with the world outside of you, right? Now, part of meditation is noticing thoughts as they arise. That's really important. That's basic mindfulness. We're not necessarily talking about that right now, okay? We're talking about Zen. Zazen is sitting, or walking Zen is walking meditation, right? So at any given moment of the day, when you're anxious or depressed, when you're flipping out, when you're exhausted because you've got too much going on upstairs, you can take the energy that is going into thinking and put it into an activity completely, 100%, like Roshi used to say. I need 100% when he would shake my hand. So you got to do it with your body. And it's not like, clenched physical type activity. It's more like directing the flow of this out here into the world. Make relationship with your surroundings through the activity you are doing in that moment. Whether it's showering, you're standing on the ground, you're feeling the earth beneath your feet, you're breaking a stick off or feeling it in your fingers, right? Feeling, proprioception, the feeling. The sensorium is what it's called in the sutras, the sense gates. Put your energy there. And the self, which is already not ultimately substantial, dissolves and we're free. And then the most amazing things happens. The world arises anew all around us, and a new self arises within us. And if you've given yourself 100% and truly, if you will, died into the giving, into the focus, into a single point, then the self that arises an instant later is fresh. And you can see that in the eyes of a Zen master. My teacher always looked fresh to me. Like he was like, what's he on? I'll take some of that, you know? He's on Zen. Leave some comments in the comments section if this connects with you or if you have follow-up questions. I sat there last night. I did a sit for my Patreon group this past weekend, and I talked a little bit about this, and I really wanted to present this in a clear and thorough way, and it just slips through my fingers every time I try and do it. But I hope something of the message got across. I hope a light bulb went off, because for me it was such a gift to learn how to get out of my head and into my body and into the world around me, and then to realize, oh my gosh, when I do that, my head is way better off. My ideas are better, my thoughts are clearer, my concentration is more focused. Everything is better when I get out of my head and into the world around me. And maybe it will be for you too. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments section, because I want to keep doing some. I'm going to do like some follow-up videos on this topic, and maybe talk about how in the different officer roles at a monastery, the different types of Zen focus, concentration, or giving to the activity or the task at hand can happen. I mean, because sometimes it's hard to know how to give yourself, for example, to an email if you're writing an email. So maybe I'll try and talk at some point about how you do this sort of giving with activities that seem to be mental, like an email or a conversation with someone where you have to talk, like I'm doing right now. Okay, anyways, folks, if you get anything out of these videos and you want to support this channel, you can go here to patreon.com/shozanjack. That's a great way to support this channel. I really appreciate your help, but I offer these videos for free, so you don't gotta help if that's not your thing. I also give you the opportunity to do like a one-time donation in PayPal, which I really like, because PayPal takes a slightly less big cut than Patreon does. You can also hit subscribe, you can hit like, you can hit the notifications button, or you can just give me the finger and get the heck on out of here and go back to your Joe Rogan or your Brene Brown videos. Friends, I had too much coffee this morning, as I always do before I do these videos, so I'm gonna check out now and ride my bike back home. I love you, take care, ciao.